I can speak for myself anyway, and I think maybe for other people who had this kind of experience. When I went the first time, I entered with probably no conscious idea about why I was doing the work I was doing and what kind of work I was actually doing in the job that I had or in the community where I was living. I just had a job, and I went and I tried to do good things for people with disabilities. It was a pretty primitive situation in those days, but I went and I tried to do what I thought was right. When I came out of the first pass workshop, it was like, well, the cliche, the scales had dropped from my eyes. I understood more about the things we had been doing to try to help people with disabilities and how they, in fact, continue the separation of people and the oppression of people, I suppose. But I was in a different world when I got home. The folks around me in Delaware County were actively planning to build a segregated school. And the plans were far along. We had gone through several elections to raise the money. We had hired the architects. We had the site, which incidentally was highly segregated out in the country. And it was too late to stop it. And my job role was to see it through. And so we built this building, and 75 or 80 people eventually came to that school from all over the community. And I had no longer any interest in it whatsoever. We had to finish it, but didn't really care very much about whether we finished it or not. And it was shortly after that, decided I better leave there and go work on something that made more sense given what I had learned about how services affected people and what I had learned about how we might think about doing something better. So I think that's what people experienced. Not everybody, but a lot of people came to realize what we were about and wanted to do something different, wanted to do it better, wanted to do it more personally with people, wanted to do it in a way that brought people into community life rather than spun them out to this place in the country or this building on the edge of town, or to, God help us, these big centers like Columbus and Apple Creek. It gave me a language to think about all of this stuff in a very conscious way. Consciousness raising and a language to use, and language which I then had to kind of interpret for people. I couldn't very well use the language out of the PASS manual all the time or out of the normalization book. I had to translate it, put it into both local and more immediately understandable terms. Had to develop a set of stories to tell, to illustrate what we meant. So perhaps that is one of the keys to what we were trying to do with all these workshops, was to raise consciousness, to help people have that experience of seeing things so very differently, and then trying to figure out how to act on that.